Today is the 19th of June, and you've quietly made peace with a silent ache that maybe love is over for you. Maybe not in a tragic, dramatic way. Maybe not even in the way people talk about on television, but in the kind of way that settles in your bones over time. You still smile at weddings. You still nod when people talk about romance. But deep down, you've started to believe your chance at real, living, breathing love is gone. This is the story of Caroline, a 58-year-old Christian widow from North Carolina. She was married to David for 31 years. They were partners in everything, raised 2 children, built a home, shared a deep prayer-filled bond. But 3 years ago, cancer came. Quietly, relentlessly, unfairly. Caroline held his hand through every treatment, sang hymns beside his bed, read Psalm 91 aloud even when her voice cracked with fear. When he passed, the church came. People brought meals, cards, offers to call. But grief isn't loud after the funeral. It whispers. It lingers. In the empty chair, in the quiet bed, in the absence of someone calling your name. 3 years later, Caroline functions. She volunteers at church. She bakes for others. She's the smiling woman people say is strong. But they don't see what she sees when she looks in the mirror. A woman who feels like love's season has passed. Not because she's bitter, but because she's tired. Because she doesn't know if her heart can risk again. And beneath that, she wonders if it even matters. If Jesus is enough, she reasons, shouldn't that be enough for me? But deep in the center of her heart is a longing she hasn't dared say out loud. Is it too late for me to be loved again? One night, Caroline opened her Bible with trembling hands. She wasn't looking for answers. She just wanted comfort. She flipped open to Isaiah 43, and her eyes fell on verse 19. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? She froze. Because for the first time in years, she felt something stir inside her. What if God wasn't finished? What if love wasn't dead, just dormant? What if Jesus wanted to awaken something in her that had been buried with David? That night, she had a dream. She was standing in a field, surrounded by wilted flowers. She knelt down and began to cry. Then, in the distance, she saw a man walking toward her. Not David, but radiant. His eyes held galaxies. His robe shimmered like early dawn. And as he came closer, she recognized him. Jesus. He didn't say much. He simply knelt beside her, placed his hand over hers, and whispered, Caroline, it's not too late. Love is not over. It's just beginning. She woke up with tears soaking her pillow, and her heart was racing not with fear, with hope. Caroline couldn't shake the dream. She sat up in bed for hours that morning, hand resting gently on her chest. Love is not over. It's just beginning. Jesus had said it so clearly, so tenderly. But how could that be true? Her body had changed. Her laugh wasn't as free. She wasn't the 20-year-old who once blushed when David kissed her forehead. She was 58, with stretch marks, a quiet house, and years of pain pressed into her bones. And yet, something stirred. Not a fantasy, not foolishness, just a question. What if I've misunderstood what love really is? She had equated love with the firsts. First kiss, first apartment, first child, first anniversary. But what if heaven's love was strongest in the afters? After loss, after grief, after heartbreak, after we think we've seen the last of beauty? Jesus is the God of resurrection. And resurrection doesn't happen at the beginning. It happens when something's already dead. When it's too late? When all hope seems buried. That morning, Caroline opened her Bible again, still trembling. This time, she found herself in Ruth 1. Naomi had lost her husband, her sons, her joy. She renamed herself Meribitterness. She believed her story was over. But what she couldn't see, God had already placed the next chapter beside her. Ruth, And through Ruth came Boaz. Through Boaz came a child. Through that child's line came Jesus. From the ashes of grief, love bloomed again. Not in Naomi's youth, but in her later years. Caroline read those words and wept, because for the first time she saw her own reflection in Naomi, and she realized God doesn't retire hearts, He revives them. Jesus doesn't look at your age and sigh. He doesn't look at your past and disqualify you. He looks at your heart and says, "I'm not done with this one yet." Caroline thought love was passion and butterflies and morning coffee in shared mugs. And yes, it was. But now, love might be something richer. Love might look like knowing yourself deeply before giving yourself again. Love might feel like choosing laughter after years of silence, forgiving faster, worshiping together on front porches, not rushing anything, not proving anything, but resting in the security of knowing you are worthy of love because Jesus says so. This is the lie many women believe. That love expires. That after heartbreak, divorce, betrayal, widowhood, or age, you are somehow less worthy of tenderness. But Jesus says, "I make all things new," Revelation 21:5. Not just bodies, not just dreams, hearts. Hearts like Caroline's, hearts like yours. The timeline of heaven is not like the world's. The world says, "You missed your chance. You're too late. You should have moved on by now." Heaven says, "I've been saving this moment for you." Because sometimes love takes its time, not because it's hesitant, but because it's being made holy. Caroline started writing again. She pulled out her old journal and wrote, "I don't know what's coming next, but I'm not closing the door on love anymore. Not when Jesus says it's just beginning." Caroline sat by her window as rain traced slow lines down the glass. She cradled a cup of chamomile tea in her hands and breathed deeply. She wasn't healed yet. Not fully. Grief has its own timeline. But something inside her had shifted. Not a shout, not a celebration. A seed. Something small, sacred, and slowly growing. That's when Archangel Michael's message came again. Clear, soft, intentional. This is your season of later love. And heaven calls it the garden. Caroline closed her eyes and listened. And in her spirit, she saw it. A vast, untended garden. Dry soil, wilted vines, empty arbors. But in the centera, small green shoot breaking through. Michael continued, "Many believe love must bloom early, fast, and loud. But heaven's love is patient, and the deepest roots grow in quiet seasons." Michael revealed the divine pattern, called the Garden of Later Love. Not romantic fantasy, but holy restoration. A system built not on flirtation or adrenaline, but on faith, resilience, surrender. Phase 1, the clearing. Before anything grows, the ground must be cleared. Caroline had been through this. Loss had stripped her. Loneliness had carved out deep spaces. Her heart wasn't shallow anymore. It was ready. And God never wastes the cleared heart. He fills it. The weeds of bitterness, fear, and cynicism had been gently pulled out. Not perfectly, but enough. Enough to say, "I'm open, Lord. I won't hide behind grief anymore." Phase 2, the planting. This is where Jesus whispers new identity. For Caroline, it came like this. You are not past your prime. You are in your purpose. She began speaking differently. Not about endings, but beginnings. She stopped saying, "Back when I was in love," and started saying, "I'm still learning what love is." Because later love isn't recycled. It's refined. Phase 3, the watering. Michael explained this is the phase most people resist. Because watering takes time. And no visible fruit shows up right away. Caroline started investing in herself again. Not out of vanity. Out of dignity. She joined a small women's Bible group. Started cooking meals just for herself, not leftovers. began walking every evening under the sky, whispering, "Thank you for this body, Lord. Even now, I'm still beautiful to you." These were her daily waterings, and they mattered because they weren't just acts of self-care. They were acts of worship. Phase 4, the bloom. Caroline didn't expect a man. She didn't seek dating sites or matchmaking. She simply allowed herself to desire again, not just for partnership, but for intimacy, for softness, for touch, for laughter that doesn't come from remembering, but from discovering. And then, slowly, unexpectedly, someone noticed her. Not because she tried to be seen, but because she had become light again. Love found her in the garden she didn't think would grow, and it was gentle. Not the consuming flame of youth, but the steady glow of a candle in the dark, faithful, enduring, and warm. Michael said this to her in prayer one evening. Later, love is heaven's gift to the ones who waited, grieved, and remained faithful. Because it's love that doesn't expect perfection. It's love that holds grief in one hand and grace in the other. It doesn't need a flawless past, just a willing heart. Jesus said, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." John 10:10. Not half-life, not survival, fullness. And for many, that fullness comes later. Not because you're behind, but because He was preparing you all along. Caroline stood in front of her mirror one morning, not with critique, but with quiet observation. Her hair had silvered. Her hands had softened. Her waist didn't fit into her wedding dress anymore. And yet, for the first time in years, she didn't feel lacking. She felt sacred. Because something had changed. Not just in how she looked at herself, but in how she believed Jesus looked at her. Love is not summoned by force. It's invited by alignment. And Archangel Michael made this clear in her heart through a simple truth. Before love enters your life again, Jesus wants to remind you of who you are. Because when you carry heaven's identity, you no longer fear whether someone will love you. You already know you are loved. Michael shared the 3 foundational action steps of sacred readiness. These aren't dating tips. These are spiritual practices that open your garden and prepare it for divine partnership, whether that's romantic, platonic, or simply deeper connection with Christ Himself. 1. Reclaim the voice. Caroline realized how quiet she had become, not just in volume, but in conviction. She stopped voicing her needs. She stopped singing. She even stopped praying out loud. Michael said, "Your voice is the echo of God in your body. It's time to use it again." So she began each morning by reading Scripture out loud, just 5 verses. At first, her voice cracked, but after a week, something rose inside her. The words became declarations, then melodies. Eventually, she found herself humming while folding laundry, singing while washing dishes. Not for anyone else, just because her spirit was rising again. 2. Set the table. Michael whispered this during a quiet walk. You don't wait to eat until guests arrive. You prepare the table in faith that they're coming. Caroline laughed when she heard it, but it stayed with her. She started cooking fuller meals again, lit a candle at dinner. Saturday at the big table instead of the counter. She bought a second chair for her porch swing. Not because she was expecting someone that night, but because she was preparing a space in faith. Not desperation, expectation. Jesus was showing her how to live like she's loved already. And love, being what it is, responds to welcome. 3. Ask with boldness. Jesus says in Matthew 7:7, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find." But many women like Caroline stop asking because asking for love feels selfish or scary or pointless. But Michael reminded her, when you ask Jesus to awaken love again, you're not demanding, you're aligning. So one evening, she whispered the prayer she hadn't prayed in 3 years. Lord, if love is in my future again, I'm open. But only if it brings me closer to you. And then she let it go. No bargaining, no timelines, just trust. These action steps weren't magical. They didn't bring someone to her door the next day, but they brought Caroline back to herself. She smiled more easily, prayed more confidently, spoke more freely, and she noticed others noticing, not because she was chasing attention, but because she had returned to her light, and light always attracts what's meant to grow around it. Love doesn't always return in the way we imagine. Sometimes it arrives through a deepening friendship, a kind man at Bible study, a surprising reconnection, or even a healing of past wounds with someone once lost. Caroline didn't chase those outcomes. She just remained faithful in her garden. And each day, Jesus showed her, you're not preparing for someone to complete you. You're preparing to share the wholeness I've already restored in you. It was the 19th of June. Caroline stood barefoot in the grass behind her house, the last golden edge of sunlight kissing her cheeks. She had just finished watering her little flower bed. It wasn't much, just a few bright daisies and some lavender, but to her, it was sacred ground, because it marked something. A season not of endings, but of becoming. Jesus had done something in her garden, yes, but the deeper miracle? He had done something in her. He had lifted the shame of too late. He had replaced it with a holy whisper. You're right on time. Caroline wasn't waiting anymore. She was living, still open to love, still surrendered to God's plan, but no longer afraid of time's shadow. She now understood, the world may keep time with clocks and calendars, but heaven keeps time with the heart. And her heart had just started blooming again. That night, Caroline wrote in her journal one last time before bed. She had only one sentence. Love may not have ended when David died. Maybe it was planted, and that seed had now broken the soil. Jesus never promised Caroline another marriage. He never guaranteed a perfect story. But what he promised, he gave. A new beginning, a second wind, a resurrection of the soul. And that's the gift being offered to you right now. You who have known loss. You who feel overlooked. You who wonder if your time has passed. Jesus says, you haven't missed love. You've matured for it. This time, it won't look like fairy tales. It will look like peace, like holding hands during prayer, like laughter that knows sorrow, like conversations that echo eternity. This love won't save you. Jesus already did that, but it will honor you. And that's a kind of holy romance the world doesn't talk about. Here is Jesus' final invitation to you. Release the shame. Release the clock. Release the lie that says your best years are behind you. And say this aloud, even if your voice shakes. Lord, I believe love still lives in me. If you want to send someone, I'll receive them. But if not, I'll still walk with you, knowing I am deeply cherished. Because that's the truth. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. You are right on time for heaven's love story. And it begins today, the 19th of June. So breathe in deeply. Look in the mirror. Smile without needing permission. Buy the flowers. Walk slowly. Sing again. Let go. And remember this. Jesus hasn't stopped writing your story. He's just turned the page. Love is not over. It's just beginning.